Welcome to our very first podcast produced by IFSA Eberswalde. I am Hanna, currently studying International Forest Ecosystem Management in the second semester, and I'm also the current president of our local IFSA committee in Eberswalde. But today I'm in the role of the interviewer, and I'm very happy to welcome Felix Mueller. Felix also studied International Forest Ecosystem Management in Eberswalde, and he was elected as the head of Forest Europe Subcommission for the IFSA H22. He was furthermore a member and vice president of our local committee from the beginning of his studies, and throughout his studies he participated in several high political conferences both at the UN and European Union level. Hello Felix!
Hello Hanna! Thank you for welcoming me here. I'm very happy being here back in Eberswalde. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. And what can you tell us about Forest Europe?
Well, Forest Europe is kind of a synonym of the Ministerial Conference on the Protection of Forests in Europe, formally abbreviated with MCPFE. Within this process, we have 46 members and the European Union, so 47 members, discussing about issues around sustainable forest management and the implementation of sustainable forest management practices in the respective member countries. So I personally consider this process of Forest Europe in general as highly important for forests out there and for society on the other hand side, because as you know, as you're a forestry student, forests provide several benefits for society. They provide fresh air, clean water, they provide jobs not only in the forestry sector but also in linked sectors. They help to mitigate the effects of climate change. These are just a few ecosystem services which forests provide to society and where society directly benefits from forests. And I personally consider Forest Europe in this regard as important, as they're discussing here about the implementation of practices that ensure the sustainable management of forest ecosystems. When they come together, these people in charge, they are coming together on a voluntary basis. This already shows us that most of the members have an urgent will to do something differently, to step forward, to manage forests in a sustainable manner. So therefore I consider this whole process as very important currently. I think this is the general issue of Forest Europe.
Okay, so as you just told, all those processes are voluntary. And how do you personally value the effectiveness of voluntary processes when we talk about forest policies? And don't you think it would be better to, force the member states by law to protect their forests?
Well, as I previously said, the people in charge are coming together on a voluntary basis. This already shows us that they are pretty much aware that forests provide so many things, so many benefits to society. So within this process, maybe I would consider this voluntary approach as most supportive, because they already care about forest ecosystems. The thing they want to know is how should we do it, and I think we only can do it together. So I think this is perfectly be done, or the perfect base in doing so is a voluntary commitment of each member state.
Okay, so we could conclude that this honest willingness of the member countries is a motivation and also kind of a role model for other countries to also sustainably manage their forests.
Exactly.
Okay, and what was, in your opinion, the most decisive and effective success of Forest Europe that marked a significant change in European forest policy? Does something come to your mind?
Well, of course. So, since Forest Europe is already active since decades, there are many commitments and also resolutions which are, which may be considered as an important step with regard to forest policy. But I would just mention one. For example, in 2011, there was a meeting happening in Oslo, where ministers responsible for forests of certain member states signed a mandate for negotiating a legally binding agreement towards the sustainable forest management of the forests in the respective countries. So I would consider this as kind of a milestone or a very important step within the Forest Europe process. So 2011, Oslo.
Mm-hmm. And what is actually your task when you attend those expert meetings and the ministerial conferences?
As I represent the International Forestry Students Association, and the International Forestry Students Association, IFSA, has a observing function within this process. It means that we observe the things currently going on within this process, and we act kind of like a focal point between politicians and people in charge of this process and society, and especially youth in here. So I just kind of act like a focal point. For example, during those meetings, I repeatedly try to express the opinion of the youth regarding sustainability issues. On the other hand side, I try to go out to the, for example, Local Committee Eberswalde and participate in a podcast, for example, and try to inform them about the current things going on there. So you might consider myself as a observing focal point between this, between youth on the one hand side and the politicians and people in charge on the other hand side.
Okay, I think we could also consider you as a part of the young generation in Forest Europe or in forest policy. And do you think that it's easy to involve young people into political processes? And maybe first of all, do you think that there is a willingness of young people to get involved into topics like politics and sustainability?
Yes, definitely. You're referring to your last question. When we just have a look on the streets out there, we currently see that there are large movements, especially from young people who want to get involved in political processes, who want to do a change, who are caring about sustainability issues, about environmental issues. So to my mind, it's definitely not hard to get young people convinced about carrying on sustainability issues. No, I think the problem is on the other hand side. So when I sometimes talk to politicians in charge which are in charge since many decades or years, sometimes it's kind of hard to express the opinions of the youth or ideas of young people to them. So to my mind, it's definitely not hard to convince young people in this regard. No.
Okay, so we definitely should get them on board. And yeah, you got clearly involved, but what was actually your way to Forest Europe, or how did you get to this position?
Well, as you previously told, I have been a member of the IFSA Local Committee here in Eberswalde. You may consider this as my first point of touch, or my first my first time where I got in touch with forest policy issues. So at a certain stage of my studies, I just decided to apply for this specific position, and somehow I got considered for this job. So I just can say that sometimes you just need to do something. So that you just need to trust yourself and that you just try to get involved. And in my case, the IFSA was the perfect base for starting to get involved.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely worth trying. And thank you very much for your time and the insight into your work. Thanks to all of you for listening. We hope that you got a little glimpse at a part of the IFSA world. And yeah, stay tuned and see you next time.